All right, we're going to look at some problems from section 9.8 using our sum and difference formulas. So the first two problems, they give us the cosine of A, and they tell us that it is, A is between 0 and pi over 2, so we know it's in the first quadrant. And they give us the sine of B and tell us B is between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi, which means it's in the fourth quadrant. All right, so we're going to use, again, we're going back to our formula sheet. So here we have a sine difference. So sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. So what that means is that we're given sine of A and sine of B, but we need cosine B and cosine A, and sine A and cosine B. So for this, I'm going to draw the triangle. We're in the first quadrant. Here's our A. The cosine is 4 over 5, so that's adjacent side hypotenuse. So I know the opposite side is 3. I'm here for B. Again, we know we're in the fourth quadrant. So there's B. The sine opposite hypotenuse, and the adjacent side will be 8 if you use Pythagorean theorem or you know some of your triples. Okay, so again, we're going right back here. We're going to use this difference formula. So I'll write it out that equals sine A cosine B minus cosine A sine B. Okay, so sine of A, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine B, so we have adjacent over hypotenuse, minus cosine A, which is 4/5, sine B, which is negative 15 over 7. So we get 24 over 85, minus a minus, that becomes plus. That's 60 over 85. So there's our exact value. Maybe a little cleaner and neater with that. 84 over 85. Okay, so now for tangent, right, we have tangent A minus tangent B over 1 plus the product of tangent A, tangent B. Okay, so again, we're using the same information. So tangent of A, opposite over adjacent, minus, so tangent B minus, so remember that's a negative, so minus negative 15 over 8, 1 plus tangent of A, again, we already know that, we've done that, that's 3/4, times, again, a negative 15/8. Okay, so here, common denominator is going to be 8, so I'm going to write that as 6 over 8. And so from there, right, 6 minus a negative, that becomes a positive 21 over 8. And I've done this problem before, and for some reason I feel like maybe that number, did I make a, let's see if I can find my, I feel like I've got an arithmetic mistake. Maybe it'll play itself out as we go through these. And then in the denominator, 1, that's minus, right, 45 over 32. So now we need a common denominator here. So I'm going to make that 1. 32 over 32. So let's see. 32 minus 45 is negative 13 over 32. So we'll flip this and multiply. 21 over 8 times negative 32 over 13. 8 divides into 32, 4, and we get negative 84 over 13. No, I think that was the right answer, so hopefully I didn't make an arithmetic mistake there that I didn't catch. Okay, let's move on to two other types of problems from this section. Okay, here it's just asking us to find the exact value of cosine of 105 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to use a cosine sum because I know that cosine of 105 is the same as the cosine of 60 plus 45. And then I know those are two special triangles, so I know we can figure out the exact values there. So again, we're going to use our cosine sum formula. Okay, so we would have 60 is A and 45 would be B. So we have the cosine of 60 times the cosine of 45 minus sine 60 sine 45. Okay, so if you need to, you can always draw your triangles. So there's 60, 30, 90. So that is going to be 2, 1, and root 3. And for our 45, 45, 90, 1, 1, and root 2. So cosine of 60, adjacent over hypotenuse, so we have 1/2. For 45, 1 over root 2, or root 2 over 2. For sine of 60, root 3 over 2, and another root 2 over 2. So that would be root 2 over 4. Root 3 times root 2 is root 6. So the exact value is root 2 minus root 6 over 4. And if you put that into your calculator, and if you found the cosine of 105, you'd find the same thing. Okay, finally, solving an equation between 0 and 2 pi. Notice the 2 pi is not included. So we're going to apply a sine sum, and that's over here, and a sine difference. So for the sine sum, there's our A and B. So we would have the sine of x cosine of pi over 4 plus, cosine x sine of pi over 4. Now we're going to do the sine difference, which is over here. So we would have sine x cosine pi over 4 minus cosine x, and then there's sine pi over 4 equals 0. Okay, so notice I have a positive cosine x sine pi over 4 and a negative, so that adds up to 0. I have two of those, so we have 2 sine x, and the cosine of pi over 4 we know is root 2 over 2. So the 2's divide out. So I have root 2 times the sine of x equals 0. Isolate the variables, so we get sine x equals 0. So I know our sine graph, and so between 0 and 2 pi, x would equal, sine of x equals 0 at 0 and pi, right? And we're not including 2 pi. All right, I hope that helps, and we'll see you soon.